Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to explain about adding waves to your map. The things you need for this tutorial or the requirements are a map, of course, water inside the map, areas where you have created changed the terrain to water, and a GBI you've created for the map that is applied to the map. Now, I'm going to be objective, I'm going to be precise, and I'm going to explain directly everything, but I'm not going to go in depth because that's a task for you to do, because if we go further on the creation of a map and so on, we could be hours explaining, and that's not the idea. The idea is to give you the basics in order that you can start and do whatever you want. So I'm going to take this tutorial that you see here, adding water to a GBI, as an example to do this video tutorial, because I find this tutorial very good for what I want to do. In case you don't know, this is a site where you can go, wiki.owsupport.com. You search there for the tutorial in the tutorial section, and you select Guernsey, this one. Alright, so let's get started, because otherwise we're going to take too much time. You open the editor on your favorite mod or the mod where you want to change the stuff, and well, here I've opened a map which is called 01 Cont. It's a map in the Arabian Nights mod, and as you can see, it obviously has water, but the water has no waves at all. Okay, so what do? We select everything, we then delete the grass, we deselect. Now the map has no grass at all. Now we export bitmaps, we select the folder. For example, I'm going to choose export here, which is one folder I created on the desktop, and I export there. Once all the files have been exported, I then export another file, which is the water height map. This calculates how deep the water is and stuff like that. As you can see, I'm on the folder where I exported the images. The name by default is space water, so I'm just going to save it like that. Now you'll see this window which shows where the water is and the blank spaces where the water isn't. I'm just going to close it since it's already saved. Next step I'm going to close this. Okay, so let's see, because I said we are going to follow this tutorial. What do? We export the water height map. Of course, load OW editor, open your map, export the water height map. I exported my bitmaps as well, and then these other spaces, these other steps, we're going to follow them later, because now I want to explain you how to work with the images you've just exported. As I said, you export the bitmaps, then you export the water height map, and then you go to your folder. So here we have 4 files: water, 1cont, this one we are not going to use it, 1cont info, this is additional. If you want, you can use it. If you don't, you don't use it, it's just for reference. And this one is the file that we are going to use for along with this file for the creation of the waves. So my program of choice is Adobe Photoshop, because it's a very complete program, and I'm going to use it for this tutorial, but that doesn't mean you can't use GIMP or Paint.net. Those are also very powerful programs as well, and they are free, so why not use them? Okay, I'm going to add water as well as a layer. Accept this. Everything is in Spanish here because Spanish is my main language, but it should be the same in your own language. So we can use this one, but for explaining purposes I'm not going to use it. though I'm going to show you just a little trick I found with this, but later. Okay? So yeah, let's forget about it. Sorry for the mess I've created just a second ago. Okay, so now that we have the background, here in Spanish is fondo, here we have background and the water height map. We create two more layers. One layer, we'll call it background, BG, and the other will be, whoops, the other one will be, come on, the other one will be waves. So now we have four layers: background, water, the background of the second background, and waves. So what do we do now? As you can see, we have some water here, but we can't see our GBI, so we don't have much idea of where the things are in, I mean, what we will see in game. So we reduce the opacity a bit just to see our GBI. As you can see, our GBI and this do not match correctly because, well, I didn't make the GBI, Serpent did, and Serpent is a username. One guy from OWS, he didn't make this GBI correctly, so as you can see, these two things don't match correctly. I mean, the water should be around here, but as you can see, the GBI has the water here, and the water image has the water here. So you'll be wondering, what thing should we have in mind for making the waves? Well, obviously the water, this one, not this one. Why? Simply because if you create a wave here, the waves take around 2 hexes of distance of length, so it will look like cut on here. So instead of looking good like this, your wave will look something like this. Not good, huh? Like it's cut. So, well, as I said, I'm not going to go in depth with this. So basically you follow this outline. This you make case, you have in mind this image, this one, water, the water height. Okay, let's go. You now are going to create the background. So basically what you do is, I'll hide for the moment, for some moments, the background, and I'm going to leave the water layer. I'm going to hide background and leave the water layer open, shown, I mean. So what do? We click on background, the layer we created time ago, and we are now going to define a selection which is going to be the water. I've picked up Stu's example, Stu's UKs. You can find it there in OW support. And hold on a second, I'm going to show you a link. Alright, so we are in the page where the example is. It's on from stucuk.net, and this is the topic. It's on General Modding Research Waves. I'll add the link at the description, don't worry. This is the result, the end result you'll get. When you download your this example mod, which has the which is called Water Test and has the waves Stu has created, you go to Mods, Water Test, and you'll open this file which is called Water Test Anim. This is the same file I have in my Photoshop program opened. So as you can see, it's basically a white square with blue, and then a blue square with some yellow part, with some blank parts. So okay, what does this mean? Blank is nothing. I mean, blank is earth or nothing. Basically what you're looking here is a map which will show OW how to create waves and animate them. Here you have some lines. Here you have some lines. and some dots. As you can see, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 directions where the waves can go. Have in mind that a wave will go in the direction the dot starts, the dot is, in the line. If we make a line and we add a dot here, it will mean that the wave will move there. But if you put the dot here, the wave will go in that direction. So have that in mind when you make waves. Alright, so let's get started, because let's continue with this. We use the lasso tool to create, have selected the layer for the background. We use the lasso tool to create the background image, to in this case to create the water. So we start selecting the water roughly, just trying to don't touch the borders, because if we touch them we are dead, if you get what I mean. Of course this can be done much better, but for saving time I'm just doing it roughly. So you continue here, there, and so on. The best way is to go zoomed and using space to move, you know, to use the hand tool and move on all the screen, all the image. Okay, so here we have our area. What do we do now is add the water, which is blue. Now we press Ctrl Shift I, and I'm going to write it there. You press Ctrl Shift I all at the same time. With that, in Photoshop you invert the selection. Invert the selection. So now, whoops, what we will do is, you see that everything else is selected. We're still on background image. Now we make the background blank, totally white. We paint it with the paint bucket, and there we go. Now we have our water and the background, which is white. Now we add some waves. Again, for time purposes, for time saving purposes, I'm just going to do a few lines and we're going. We have two methods here in Photoshop. We have two methods here in Photoshop to create these waves. We can use our pointer. We can use a pencil, which is basically drawing with pixels. Drawing pixel by pixel, or how do you say, with sharp pixels, unlike the brush which smoothens everything out. We use the pencil, and you can do lines like that, or we can use vectors, which is basically a pen, the pen tool. It's a bit more complex, but creates smoother lines, not something like this. Of course I've exaggerated it, but you can see. Okay, so now that we have a line, now that we have a line, what we are going to do is add a dot to it. But you can of course create all the lines you want. I'm going to create 2 more lines just for you to have in mind. 1, lines must be red, totally red. Another line here just to show you, something like this. Okay, so if we have a wave here, the wave will move in this trajectory, something like this, or in the other way. It depends on where you put the dot or the starting point. You have to take in mind, you have to have in mind that waves have different sprites. one for each direction of the 8 they can take. So take a look at your trajectory and try to think which wave will be best for that, which wave sprite. For this one, we'll stick with this type. So we're going to use this pipette. We copy this dot. Now we use the pencil tool, we zoom as much as we think it's necessary, and then we put the dot there. If we want the wave to start in this direction, we must put it there. For the opposite, you put it right here and it will move there. Since it moves in that direction, we're going to use this one as well. So we put it there. And for a third wave, which moves in a different direction, moves downwards, we're going to use this one. I'm not explaining all the types because it will take a lot of time, more than necessary, I guess. So we add the dot there. As you can see, there's the dot. Okay, so we have a wave going upwards and going downwards, another wave going from right to left, and one that's a bit curved. Yes, you can use curved lines. So what do we do now? We eliminate the other layers that are not waves or background but the height map and the background. But before we eliminate them, I'm gonna explain you something briefly. We go where the things are. Yes, cont info. You remember I told you that I was going to explain briefly how to use one layer which was called cont info. This layer is an information layer regarding to hex info or hexagons info, which is the grid. You use this basically to take in mind where the best direction should be. For example, you create a line here which goes like this, so you will see that the best way should be this one. Say you make a line that goes like this. Well, in this way shouldn't be very useful, but if you make something like this, you can see that this takes one of the directions, so it's kind of good for reference. Just, well, that was what I was going to show you. Okay, so let's go back, and now that we have our background and our waves, what we do is delete the other layers that are not going to be part of the party. They are not going to be part of our project. So we have background and waves. We combine these into one. We change the mode to indexed color, and we pick up a palette, which is one that I have saved here, taken from the water test examples 2C UK provided, and we convert it. Before we continue, if you have used the selection tool as I did, you will see that the corners, the side of the selection was smoothened out. So what's the solution to this? Because we don't want these colors in our creation, in our map, this water animation map. What do is pick up the white color, a good tolerance level like 150, and we simply paint outside. So what that will do is make all of our edges sharp, so everything will be good and we'll be able to export it finally. So now that you have your map, we are going to export it. We save it as a BMP and we call it one cont anim. Oops. We save, we click OK. Before we continue, we're going to open this one cont object. It's going to be our GBI, so we have to convert it because it's exported by the editor on RGB. So we make it indexed color and we make the palette exact. We save it. There you go. Let's see what are the next steps in the tutorial. Import water height map, but there is one step leaking here, which is called import water anim map. Yes, it's not mentioned here, I don't know why, but you have to import it. So you load OW editor again. I'm gonna pause the video for a second and leave it and start it again when we have opened this to save some time. Okay, so here we have the map loaded. So following the steps of the guide, we have to import the water anim map. We have already opened OW, open our map. We have already exported the water height map. As you can see, it's here, the water height map, this one. This is the water height map we just exported time ago. These are the other bitmaps I told you to export that we have exported. So now what we do is import a water height map, but just after we import our water anim map. So what we do now is pay attention, go to files, import water anim map, go to your folder and you select your anim map, and now you go and import the water height map just as the guide said, which is this one. Next step is file, because this one is only needed with version 109 or below. We're working with a higher version. We're working with 1.11. So we go to file, export water image as bin. So file, export water image as bin, and we call it one cont water image. We save. We see what's the next step. Close OW editor. Perfect. We close it because we are now going to work with GrunSec. Load GrunSec, says the guide. So we load it. Now what we do is load, open your GBI, and then load the water image. The rest is easy. I'm going to explain it as we go on the go. Run bitmap, you browse, you see your image, your folder, check your folder. It's not this one, it's this one. So now what we import is one cont object that we have converted into an 8-bit image. We open it to create a GBI with water, of course. Now we open our image, our water image, sorry, which is the bin exported image. We open it and we click OK, and we save it as we want. Generally it will be something like one cont, because we're working on the Arabian campaign. We save it, and now it's working. It's going to have it done in just a moment. Just in a moment. Okay, so it's done. We close here and we now go to our program. But before we continue, what we do is, you see this GBI here, you copy it, then you go to your folder where you have original water, to your mod folder where you have your mod. you should have a folder called ground B. We're going to delete these just for a moment. We're gonna say, because I've already made some what we do now is paste our file. Be something like this. So it's now there. What we do now is we go to editor, and again I'm going to pause this for a second until I load the editor. So what we do is load our map again, and we save, we import the GBI if it's not imported, and we save the map and then restart. But since the GBI was already imported, it's already loaded. The next step is to go to map preferences and check this thing. So take a look at the water. You see the colors here. Okay, you go to map preferences and check. This will be the color of the water. Here the water has some kind of different color. The color of the water will be something like, when you make a unit enter into the water, you'll see his or her feet in some color because they are underwater. So this will be the color they'll be seen. So we'll make it some kind of darker, but not too dark. And the waves color, which should be fine, we'll make it a bit more dark. And the waves requested. Play around with the waves requested, because I haven't found one exact rule about how they work, but generally it means the total quantity of waves that are generated from time to time. So after you have done that, you accept it. I'm going to cancel in this case, and you go and try it out. Go to game mode and try. My video editor does not let me, video recorder does not let me record in-game videos, sadly, but if you have followed the steps correctly as I've said, everything should be fine, and you'll be able to see your waves. Okay. Alright, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, you can go to the forum at owsupport.com. Be sure to register or check out some of the already made topics, which should be of great help. You can also search in the wiki the tutorial section. Okay, that's all, and thank you again for watching, and I hope it works. You can also leave some questions here in the description of in the comment section of this video if you have any. I'm GBI, and this was a tutorial for you to make things clear and don't have any other problems when making waves. Bye bye.